Small beside you? Yeah. And call father to see if he's awake. He says he'll stop by at 7. Meanwhile, I'm live and saying all of this. Child, check on father to make sure he's awake. He's waking up. Okay, thank you. Good morning, Poppy Car. I didn't announce that I was going to start early this morning, but I made the decision because I have a guest at 6:30 and I have one at 7, and I have a very full day today. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning, darlings. Good morning. I see all of you. Black History Fact. This outfit, this beautiful dress that I'm wearing is one that I designed for myself, and so just I'm going to move on from there. I'm going to also quickly give you one of the lesser known people in history, Black history. Mary Ellen Pleasant, August 19th, 1814 to January 11th, 1904, was an American entrepreneur, financier, real estate magnate, and abolitionist. She was arguably the first self-made millionaire of African American heritage, preceding Madam C.J. Walker by decades. She identified herself as a capitalist by profession in the 1890 United States Census. Her aim was to earn as much money as she was able to help as many people as she could. With her riches, she was able to provide transportation, housing, and food for survival. She trained people how to stay safe, succeed, carry themselves, and more. The One Woman Social Agency served African Americans before and during the Civil War, as well as meeting a different set of needs after emancipation. She worked on the Underground Railroad and expanded it westward towards the California Gold Rush era. She was a friend and financial supporter of John Brown and was well known among abolitionists. She helped women who lived in California during the California Gold Rush to stay safe and become self-sufficient after the Civil War. She won several civil rights victories that resulted in her being called the mother of human rights in California. Legal battles, though, had mixed results. Realizing that she was in a tenuous position as a Black woman who gained political and financial power, she sought ways to blend into the culture of the times. She portrayed herself as a housekeeper and a cook long after she was wealthy, but she used these roles to get to know wealthy citizens and gain information for her investments. In the 1870s, she made the acquaintance of Thomas Bell, a wealthy banker and capitalist, which helped her make money and keep her riches and the true financial status a secret. She spent her money and developed the plans to build a large mansion that outwardly was to seem as if it was the Bells' residence. She assumed the role of housekeeper for the Bells, but it was not a secret in the city that she actually ran the household, managed the servants, and also managed the relationship amongst the Bells. So I chose um, I chose Mary Ellen Pleasant because she was doing something back in the 1800s that we've stopped doing today. And it is to our detriment that we are here. I want to read something to all of you. uh, Diagnosis of our culture sickness. You've all heard me say this on the air over and again, that this cancel culture, this I'm doing me, you do you, this thing that we've done over decades is now coming at a steep cost to all of us, much to our dismay. Diagnosis of Our Culture Sickness. In his farewell New York Times column, David Brooks pinpoints the loss of faith as the critical issue confronting Americans. When I think about the world, how the world has changed since I joined the Times, the master trend has been Americans' collective loss of faith, not only religious faith, but many other kinds. Loss of faith, he says, produces a belief in nothing. Trump is nihilism personified, with his assumption that morality is for suckers, that life is about power, force, bullying, and cruelty. Global populists seek to create a world in which only the ruthless can thrive. America is becoming the rabid wolf of nations. Nihilism is the mindset that says that whatever is lower is more real. Selfishness, egoism, and the lust for power drive human affairs. Altruism, generosity, honor, integrity, and hospitality are mirages. Ideals are shams that the selfish use to mask their greed. Disillusioned by life, the cynic gives himself permission to embrace brutality, saying, we won't get fooled again. It's dog eat dog. If we're going to survive, we need to elect bullies in high places. In 2024, 77 million American voters looked at Trump and saw nothing morally disqualifying about the man. It is tempting to say that Trump corrupted America, but the shredding of values from the top was preceded by a decades-long collapse of values from within. 4 decades of hyper individualism, expanded individual choice, but weakened the bonds between people. Multiple generations of students and their parents fled from the humanities and the liberal arts, driven by the belief that the prime purpose of education is to learn how to make money. We're abandoning our humanistic core, the elements of our civilization that lift the spirit, nurture empathy, and orient the soul now plays a diminished role in national life. Religious devotion, theology, literature, art, history, philosophy. Many educators decided that because Western power spawned colonialism, and they did, students in the West should thereby be rendered cultural orphans. Activists decided persuasion is a myth and that life is a ruthless power competition between oppressors and oppressed group. As a result of technological progress and humanistic decay, life has become objectively better but subjectively worse. We have widened personal freedom, but utterly failed to help people answer the question of what freedom is for. The most grievous cultural wound has been the loss of a shared moral order. We told multiple generations to come up with their own individual values. This privatization of morality burdened people with a task they could not possibly do, leaving them morally inarticulate and uninformed. It created a naked public square where there was no broad agreement about what is true, beautiful, and good. Without a shared standards of right and wrong, it is impossible to settle disputes. It's impossible to maintain social cohesion and trust. Every healthy society rests on some shared conception of the sacred, sacred heroes, sacred texts, sacred ideals, and when that goes away, anxiety, atomization, and a slow descent towards barbarism are the natural results. This is where we are in America today, because it's been I'm going to cancel you and I'm doing for myself. And this person who wrote his last column for the New York Times summed it up beautifully. Before Donald Trump came along, we were there. We were there talking about ourselves, doing for ourselves, not working with each other. And you heard me read about Mary Ellen Pleasant, who took her vast wealth and helped to teach people, help them to gain wealth of their own, help them to do what they're supposed to do. We've stopped doing that. And so folks like myself seem like, oh, well, she just pie in the sky. I'm not pie in the sky. What we do for people around us is how we survive and thrive. It's absolutely important. Good morning, Rachel. I'm about to let you in. I just needed to read that. It's 6:34. Came on 9 minutes early so I could get that in. So when I say to you every single day, who is your tribe? And not just the people that were born naturally in your families, but who are the people around you that you can support and help to move forward? Not through bullying, not through talking to people like they're simple and stupid, not through, I'm just going to do me. This is why we're where we are now, and we're so frightened and sitting like deer in headlights, because we've just become so egotistical about doing for ourselves. In a society that thrives, you do for each other. In a society that's going down into the pits of hell, you do for yourself. Guess where we are? Okay. Morning. Hallelujah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Hi, Carla. Good morning, Beatrice. So I started early so I could get this piece in, but here we are. The colors, Laura, uh, this outfit I designed and had created myself, bought the fabric and everything. It's a beautiful long dress, but we can't get into that today. There's a lot to talk about.
It's
Good morning,
beautiful.
Shaquilla. Good morning, Dolores. I see you all here. Let me introduce, because this is important. Rachel Hannibal is a certified financial education instructor and founder of Missing Piece Financial Group. For the last 10 years, she has been a personal finance coach for adults, helping them reach their short-term and long-term financial goals. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning.
I am grateful that you're on this morning, because I put up a post, which is why I'm so transparent as I can possibly be with all of you. My gas bill came and it was $624. And you made a comment that stuck with me. And I'm going to tell you why. In November of 2024, when we saw that the federal government was changing hands, my husband and I sat down and we said, okay, just because we can afford to spend it, don't mean we're gonna shut everything down. We're gonna shut all the flying over here and flying over there and making sure that we have a little bit of coins set aside, because we don't know what's coming. The other thing we did, Rachel, was any major bill that we had, we paid it off. So it
Mhm.
was a car loan or whatever else. We did all of that. The only reason that we were able to pay that $494 gas bill in December and the $624 gas bill in January is because we planned ahead.
Mhm.
And so when you come on here and we have this dialogue, my dress, thank God I have on a thing. Y'all would have been seeing my tatas by now. The only When you come on here month after month and you say, this is what we need to do if we're going to make it through what is upon us.
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure if people are heard. Some folks have to downsize. If you're in a 5,000 square foot home and you don't have the money that is now able to accommodate that 5,000 square foot home, because you got to be able to buy the home you can afford to upkeep, buy the car you can afford to upkeep. Talk to us about why this is so important, especially in these times, and what can people do now to start downsizing and figuring out what they need to do.
Yeah, I know that you and I are like looked at as the people who are constantly like, "Hey, prepare, prepare, prepare. This is coming, that is coming." And, some people don't want to, constantly hear that, but we do. Unfortunately, we have been reactive for too long. We have to
Yes.
be proactive. Um I mentioned that if you know an emergency is coming, if you think an emergency is coming, even in 2 years, you should start preparing now. I mean, you're barely putting aside $100 a month, maybe $50 a month. So just imagine how long it's going to take you to save up enough if AI does take your job 5 years from now.
Mhm.
If an emergency comes, right? If your heater goes or something like that, right? And so it's really important for us to look at our needs. What do we need? What do we need? And for some people, those lines are going to be blurred because you're trying to keep up with an image. You're trying to keep up with all the talk that you've been telling. You've been telling people this at Thanksgiving dinner and at the cookout. You've been bragging on, you have this car, you have this, you go on to this place. and you don't want to look like the one who doesn't have it anymore. But I'm concerned about what Mother and I are concerned about survival.
Mm.
We're not
Mhm.
concerned about an image. We're concerned about survival. And I have clients, one that I'm working with now, who has gone from having her husband having a lot to, hey coach, do we have to stay in our car? And I was like, absolutely not. You're not going to be living out of your car. But
Mm.
I'm only bringing up that to say that things can change so quickly. Some people are just one bill, one phone call, one
One
letter in the
health
mail.
issue. Seriously, one health issue. I've been going back and forth to the doctors for the last several weeks because I went to get a physical. My blood pressure was so high, Rachel. They immediately sent me to a cardiologist and they were like, okay, what's happening here? What we found out from me is that it was stress. Because as you all can see, I'm working out, I'm doing all the things. Stress will kill you.
Yes.
Absolutely will kill you. So I had to figure out how to pull back from some of the things that I was doing. And, it's still high. I've got three doctors talking to each other at once because everybody's going, we watch you. We see how you eat. We can tell from your blood work. When they looked at the cortisol level in my blood work, it was out of control.
Mm.
Out of control. So when
Mm.
I'm on here every single day and I'm going, start preparing, get yourself together. I'm no longer fussing with people. I'm no longer the canary in the coal mine because I'm killing myself trying to make sure that folks listen to what is happening out here. Right? It's a lot. I just said the word right. Dear God, let me put my thing. I'm saving money by, challenging myself every time I say the word right. Yes, I am, honey.
Okay.
Any way we can say it. There we go.
I love
But
this.
folks are like, well, you're just trying to tell us what to do. I got a 4,400 square foot home. We've got great jobs and we can buy the cars that we want. And we keep saying, live beneath your means over and over and over. And I'm tired. And
And that's
living
what I said
beneath.
on the post. I didn't want to. Literally said that word for word. I don't. I wanted to address what you were saying, and I wanted to give tips and all of that. But it's literally been the same thing that we've been talking about since the first time you had me on air. And our first topic was about the dangers of being unbanked and underbanked and not having money saved and all of that. And here we are, however long later, we're still saying the same thing. And it's sometimes it becomes difficult.
A gentleman by the name of Jimmy made a comment at an IB Big Investment meeting that we had that stuck with me. You ready for this? He
I'm
said he
ready.
was in the money management world and realized that it was just a huge scam. People were just, taking money and doing what they didn't do. He said he met a couple that combined they were making over $500,000 a year and didn't have $500 in the bank,
I've seen it.
and they were freaking out. And then there was a gentleman who was making $45,000 a year and had $500,000 in the bank
I've seen it.
in investments. And the difference is choosing not to blow your money on things. And the more you blow the money, the more you want to blow more money because you already wore that, and I'm not going do that again. And Louis Vuitton. And if you watch, it took them years to say that man was black because they were making so much money because we as a people continue. I need to have this red bottom shoe. And listen, I've said this over and again. I'm not judging you, but here's the deal. Here's the deal. When you're buying these things, you better be worth 1.5, $1.8 million. If you're only making $200,000 a year, this is not the place or the time.
No.
And these things do not appreciate. I have said it over and over again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So give them some clues and some tips about what they can do to downsize their lives if they so choose to listen. Because I'm over it.
Okay. So I looked up fresh numbers this morning. We mentioned this a few months ago, but I wanted to give fresh numbers. That the average salary increase in the last 5 years has been 4%. However, the average increase cost of living in the last 5 years has been 24%. Okay, 24%. Those are fresh numbers.
Mhm.
So here's the things that we need to do to make sure that we level that out a little bit. We need to have an additional stream of income. I tell my clients, you need to lean back, you need to lean forward. Okay. The
Mhm.
lean forward part is leaning into your gifts, leaning into your talent, What are the things that you do easily that everybody's asking you to do that you just love to do it so much you do it for free? You should start charging. Maybe you already charge and you should start charging some more. Maybe you should find another lane in that particular area where you can have another stream of income that's side by side, a companion service or something that you can offer that goes along with something else that you are already really good at. We all have gifts and talents and things we're doing for free. And the Lord above does not want you to just give away everything he's giving you for free. Okay, that's not God's plan for your life. So that's number one. That's the lean forward. Lean in to ways that you can increase your skills, ways that you can continue to offer service and make additional income. Lean back. The lean back part is maybe you need to lean away from some of the things you're blowing money on, right? Maybe you need to lean back and give yourself a look at the total picture. What is happening here? Not just from the outside looking in. Do I need this many bedrooms? Do I need to live here? Do I need to maybe go back to school? Do I need to do I need to cut some things off? Do I need to have a conversation with my children about how for this year we are going to do this, and we're going to, as a team, we're going to come together to make sure that we're okay, but we need to be able to be okay for an extended period of time, and this is the plan. So these are the two ways that we need to make sure to keep in mind. Lean back. Coach said lean back into the things we've been overspending on, lean back, and make sure we're looking at the bigger picture, but lean into your community. Mother was talking about our community earlier, right? That's extremely important. We cannot overemphasize that enough, right? Lean into your gifts and your talents, and lean into ways that you can make extra money, even if it's something here and there on the weekends that you can start saving up a little bit. Maybe you won't get that surprise bill until next winter, but you would have had a year's worth of savings where you were ready when that time comes.
Last night, someone from the gas company came into my house. I put up a post about it this morning. The man heard my voice and recognized it, right? And made sure we had heat in our house. He was like, "Mama, I listen to you," right? And clearly he works for the gas company, but he also works on the side, helping other people to get their homes worked on. That's having more than one stream of income.
Yes.
That's a great example. The man is so wonderful and kind. He'll be back here today at 7 o'clock before he goes to his regular job to check to make sure my issue's working properly. This is what we're talking about, y'all.
Yeah.
That is just one example of what we're talking about. So how can you take what you need, what you have, to turn it into extra income? What gifts and talents, as Rachel says, you can turn into extra income? The black cakes. I made the black cakes and I was giving them out. People like, I said, well, I'll give you the recipe. We don't want the recipe, Mama. You're going to have to bake them. Okay, I'm baking them. It's going to cost you a thing. I remember Sandra Clark saying to me, she was marveling that in the middle of COVID, when everybody had to be home, I was making money, teaching people how to create the recipes for themselves. Right? I would send them the recipe and I was only like $40. And then they had to go buy the ingredients. And then they would join me on a Zoom and I would teach them how to make these Jamaican foods. This is how you've got to become creative. Don't sit around and completely depend on somebody paying you a salary, because the days of your being in a job for 25, 30, 40, them days are over. And just because you have it in your pocket does not mean you have to spend it. Lean back. Another example, my 30-year-old son, he's turning 30 this year. He's got a great job, making 6 figures. I said to him, well, you're going to move away from having a roommate? He said, oh, no, I'm staying where I am because I don't know how long this job is going to be for. And I'm saving my money so that if something happens, I will be prepared to pay for somewhere else or pay to do whatever. And I was so damn proud, right? Because we are the example to our children. And I'm not saying that we're always going to get it right, because emergencies happen. But dear God, if you would just please listen to Rachel. She's on. Tell them where they can find you, Rachel.
RachelHannibal.com, and I'm Rachel Hannibal on LinkedIn and everywhere, that Facebook, social media, Rachel Hannibal.
Right. RachelHannibal.com. Rachel, I have another example.
StreamYard needs cooking classes. I know that's right. Because the saints can't cook.
I charge for the access. And yeah.
I keep seeing this post that says it used to be cheaper to cook now cook at home versus eating out. Now it doesn't matter. I'm like, who are y'all talking to? It actually
No.
matters way more now. It's actually much, it's a bigger difference to eat at home and to cook at home than it is eating out. And I'm like, where are y'all?
Wait a
Who's
minute.
feeding y'all?
But Rachel, because this individualistic, egotistical society that we constantly living now. Yesterday, I left the doctor's office and I was hungry. I eat every 4 hours, and I said, "Oh, let me just what's that thing? DoorDash, some meat and vegetables." The fees that they were charging to DoorDash the stuff to me was way more than what the thing cost. I walked into the Jamaican store. I pointed to a piece of parrot fish. I said, "Scale this fish and gut it for me. I want to go home and roast it." I went home, put the fish that fish cost me $9. I went home, put a pat of butter on the fish, put some spinach inside, cut some onions on top, put some carrots around it. Baby, when that thing was done, delicious, right? So my lunch cost me less than $10, and I was able to make it and knew what the ingredients were that I was putting in. We've got to figure out a way to save money. To save
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, and even with me, I mean, I'm back in school now. I mean, and it's easy because I'm successful and
Mhm.
all those things to be lazy and to feel like, oh, I'm okay where I am. But even I'm sharpening up my skills. I'm preparing for the future. I'm preparing to add additional
Mhm.
stream of income. I'm prepared to increase my prices, but I am doing the investment first so that I can
In
better,
yourself.
serve, so I can better, offer more value, so I can charge, so I can charge more, so I can ask for that raise, so I can, require a little bit more. And so
Mhm.
it's really important. I'm following everything that I've been telling you all to do. I'm leaning
Mhm.
back and forward. I
Mhm.
promise you that. So, but the
Mhm.
consistency is really what we need to be making sure that we're paying attention to. And it's worth it. We talk about stress. Mother talked about stress. You
Oh.
may make it by. You may figure it out, and you've been figuring it out, but the level of stress and wear and tear it has been on your mind, body, and spirit, we do not want you to have to deal with that for the next. You've dealt with it the last 30 years. We don't want you to have to deal with that for the next 30 years because your body is not going to
Mhm.
be able to take that. And so,
Mhm.
yes, you've been skating by, and we talked about this on the post. So many people have been skating by and just tight, like, but that's
Mhm.
so stressful and to
Mhm.
do. And we don't want you to live that way anymore.
Yeah, I had a thingy. Someone invited me to a weekend getaway, and it was like $650. And my husband's like, "Just go because you need to decompress." And I was like, something in my spirit said, "I'm gonna skip this one." Girl, when the gas bill came and it was $624, I said, "There's your 600." There's your six,
Spirit, don't fail me now.
right? It really, truly makes a difference. It does. So, what are some small things that people can start to do now? You're talking about lean forward, lean back. We get all of that, right? Lean back on the things we're overspending on. So, what are some like small things that we can do now to
Plan to
lean back?
cook one more day a week than you do now. If you cook 2 days a week, plan to cook one more day. If you cook not at all, pick a day, let that be your cook day. One more day a week than what you've been normally doing. That's number one. Number two, take inventory of the things in your home. Do you need these things? Can you sell it? Can you give it away? Or are you holding on to it? Right? Because there's space. A lot of people assume that they need that big house because it's full with stuff that you don't
Mhm,
need. So
mhm,
when you start to downsize and you start to take inventory, you may realize we actually don't need this much space, right? We've just
mhm,
been holding on to crap. So those are
mhm,
two very small, simple things that
mhm,
everyone can do. Everyone overspends on food. So that's always going to be number one.
mhm,
Find a way to save money on food. If you have a neighbor, if you have a family member who lives close, find a way to kind of, combine your income. Okay, we're getting meats together. This is on
mhm,
sale for
mhm,
this week, and we'll have enough that we can freeze and we can, you can
mhm,
do so much with chicken, right? With some
child.
chicken breast, right? So
Mhm,
those are really, really small things, and allocate that money to savings. Don't just say, "Oh, coach, I'm now cooking 3 days a week." But I'll say, "Well, what are
mhm,
you doing with the money that you normally would have spent on
mhm,
Thursdays when you were ordering out? I need to see that you're putting that into savings. You need to put that towards your debt. That's what those
mhm,
things. Don't just do the one thing. You need to put the money in a better place. And
mhm,
so those are the small things that you can do.
mhm. Yep. All right.
One last thing, I'm sorry. Audit your bank account.
Okay.
We've signed up for so much. It's so many people just going in like a thief in the night, going into our bank account for auto pay for this or subscription for this or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Go through your credit card and your bank statements and see what's been coming out of there and see if you really need it. Do you need to
Mm-hmm.
cancel that thing? Do you need to downsize to
Mm-hmm.
a smaller plan?
Mm-hmm.
Really just go through, because not only we talked about the cost of living going up, that's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of your subscriptions as well. They
Mm-hmm.
are increasing, and you need to ask yourself, yeah, you signed up 4 years ago when it was $8.99, but is it still
Mm-hmm.
worth it to you now at $13.99? Right?
Yeah.
So these are the questions that you need to
Like
ask. That's the
Netflix
last.
started out at $6.99. Then about some $26 for what, Netflix?
In the age
Yeah.
of social media, where everybody gonna give me the highlights of it anyway.
Yes. 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 All right. So let's see what says. Laura says, oh, ECB says, put in some comic books on Craigslist today, even like so. Yes, you've got things that you know are worth some money in your house. Put them up for auction, right? And save the money. Don't put it up for auction. Get a bunch of cash and then spend it. That defeats the purpose. Laura says, I refuse to pay. Wait. She said, I'm back to switching in the kitchen. Ah!
I love that. We all should be.
Yeah. ECB says grocery shopping these days is pretty much exclusively on sale or not. Right. So if the stuff is on sale,
Yeah.
Carla says go back to couponing. Laura says I refuse to pay for these lunches that are $20 and all you get is a small entree and something ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous, right? And then also be mindful that when you are cooking at home, you can actually see what's going in your food. Uh,
Health is wealth.
um, Jasenia says some of these subscriptions are automatically taking money for account without approval. Right. So you got to go back and check them and take them down. Dolores says, so true. There are things you can sell. Seasoned citizens need a place where they can have a flea market area to sell their things. I told you guys one day, I found a genuine set of pearl necklaces, and I got it for $2 in the thrift store. People don't know what they,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You probably get
Um,
compliments everywhere you go. Wear it too.
Yes. Oh, baby. Marguerite says, do you recommend an app to use to identify the subscriptions you don't remember?
No, so I always kind of shy away from the apps thing because I always say, at least for the first couple times, you should do it yourself. My
So you
my
know
whole
exactly
mission
where
for
your stuff is.
13 years have been to
Mhm.
empower people to do it themselves. So I don't have an app that I normally recommend to use for that, but I'm sure there are some, but I don't have anything I could recommend.
Yeah. Tell people once again where they can find. This was a good segment. Thank you, my darling. We're going to keep
Always.
beating the drum until somebody hears.
Okay. Okay, I'm glad you gave me permission to do that. Thank you.
You're
And you can find me at rachelhannibal.com, Rachel Hannibal across all platforms. If you need me to come out to your school, your church, your organization to do a group class, or if you need one-on-one help to help lean back with the lean forward, you can request a session at rachelhannibal.com with the work with me link. If you click the work with me link, you can request a session and I'll come up with I'll create a personalized plan that fits your lifestyle and your goals.
Yeah. Thank you, my sister. It's
Thank
always a
you.
pleasure.
Thank
Have a good
you.
one until next month, okay?
Yes,
And you didn't
ma'am.
say this time, I'm unstoppable.
I'm unstoppable. I'm unstoppable.
Bye,
See
my
ya.
darling. I'll see you soon. Bye
See ya.
bye. Bye bye. Laura says, I'm spending my eat out money at Booker's. The food is damn good and I don't mind paying for value and taste. Absolutely. Absolutely. So for those of you who are going to join me, Eloise says, this segment is great, Andrea. Thank you, Eloise. Again, everything we do here is to find solutions for you, not just for you to come on here and talk about this one and talk about that one and, and scream and rant and rave over the things that are going on around us in our society, but to find the solutions that we can navigate around. I'm going to say this until I am blue in the face. Find your tribe. Find your tribe. And that simply means, who are the people around you that you trust enough to help you get through certain things. And when people, you may not listen the first or the second or the third time. If you see somebody in trouble, I have some things to do this week. My daughter came in last night. My sister is driving in this morning. My husband is front and center, and everybody's going to sit with me for the rest of the week so that I am okay. This is what I'm talking about. If I didn't show myself to be someone that was trustworthy, or someone who showed up in spaces that when they least expected it, I wouldn't have had this for myself when I need it today, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Who are the people? Who are the relations? What are the relationships that you can curate, and not out of a lack of authenticity, but people that you really just do like, and you want to just spend some time with them. Lorraine's been calling me for weeks, and I think she knows something is wrong. She's like, I have not heard from you. Where the hell are you? But again, when we have things going on, parents die. I have a group of women that I spend time with. I don't see them all the time, but if a parent gets sick, or if a parent dies, or if somebody needs some encouragement, we all lock hands and come together and go, okay, how do we navigate and manage this? And so that's what I'm talking about. How do you show up in kindness when people least expect it? So I'll give you another example. I go to the Jamaican store. I ask him for some steppers. He kind of thinks I'm Jamaican, but he's not quite sure because of my accent, right? Like it's kind of level. And I only pop it up when I am pissed off about something. You hear that run. So we're talking, and I asked him to take the toes out the steppers for me. And he said, I also am a carpenter. I'm also a this, I'm also a that. What he reminded me of is that we should not sell ourselves short. Wherever our gifts and talents are, that's where we should utilize them. Another brother I met last night, he was like, I'm also a master carpenter, harmed himself, but when he gets himself back together, I'm going to call and say, send that brother to my house, right? Because I want people in here that can not only do the work, but if I'm going to give my hard-earned coins, I'm giving it to people that I trust. People that I know will not come in here and shaft me. People that I know. I had to call before I moved in here with my husband. The plumber was so terrible. We had to replace damn near every pipe in this house, and still replacing them. And I called the plumber, and I said, the plumber has only been coming here and fixing, just patching stuff and charging you thousands of dollars. We're not doing this. So you have to learn what it is that you're looking at. And so we had to fire him. And so we've got black people at listen, unapologetically. Did you hear what I said? Black people in my house. And even some of them, sometimes I look and say, listen, if you're going to come in here and shuck your job, we're not doing this, but I want to make sure that you have the job. So we have to take care of each other. We've got to go back to community. Not because I don't like white people. That's not the thing. The thing is, white folks have made so much money over the years, over the generations, and black folks are still trying to figure out their way to get up and running. And so we give as many opportunities as we can. My cardiologist is a little old white man. He called me yesterday morning as I was on my way to the doctor's office. I said, who is this? He says, it's your cardiologist. I'm just calling to check on you. Make sure. And I started to cry. I was like, you calling me? He said, yes. He said, there's something about you. Something about you. I'm going to make sure that you are okay. Your spirit. I'm going to stay in this space to make sure that you're okay. And I'm going to communicate with your primary care physician to make sure that you are okay. And don't you know, when I got to the primary care physician, the both of them were talking right there in front of me. This is the course of action. This is what we want to do. We're going to make sure she's okay. Yes, she's a compliant patient. Yes, she's been, and I'm listening to them. And then Dr. Archima jumped in, and she was like, oh, yeah, we're going to make sure you're going to be, we got to get your cortisol levels down, but we're going to make sure you're okay. This comes, y'all, from building relationship. I walked into that man's office, and I was like, something about you is just beautiful and kind. And he looked up from his thing, and he said, oh, yeah? I said, I think I'm going to make you my cardiologist. And we've just been grooving ever since. Dr. Dupree, we've been at it for years. Dr. Archima, for years. Right? So when I use the word right, when they come through, if something is going on, I have access to them via phone call. I don't have to call the office. I have access. And that's because when you walk into spaces and you're helping people and you're trying to work with people, they work with you and help you too. Makes a difference. I'm waiting for Keisha Hudson Brooks to join us. She's my last guest for today, and I can't wait to have that dialogue. I'm telling you, I'm itching to have it. So Laura says, we all need to be like our fellow Jamaicans. They will work multiple jobs and don't give a damn. Absolutely true. And people, oh my God, can't stand it up. But here, see where we are now, where you had that one job and you were flying all over the world and you were not listening and doing what you needed to do to have different ideas about how else I can make money. We have lost our way. It's Black History Month. You're going to be Black all your life. You have to. There are people who are, I don't like to call them allies. People who will work with you, that love you, that may not look like you. Trust them too, because not every white person is bad. I need us to get past that part too, right? Because I have a lot of folks around me that are not Black that I really trust and will do what needs to be done. But again, your heart has to meet heart meets heart. You have to work together, do what you need to do. And there's some Black folks I've just been like, we go, please exit out stage left. I'm done. Because you clearly don't understand what it is like to do what you're supposed to do. Monica says, great morning, Andrea, and all mornings. Just coming from the gym. Yeah, girl, keep going to the gym. Viola says, I've had 4 transitioning in the past few weeks. And because of everything that's going on right now, when people are stressed for obvious reasons, people are dropping heart attacks and strokes, right? A dear friend just had a bunch of aneurysms, just didn't feel well and dropped. Aneurysm, stroke after stroke after. So we have got to take care of ourselves. So my team's looking at me going, you need a whole reset. We're going to make sure that you have a whole reset, that you are here 10 years from now saying, Lord, I remember when. Right? So that's where we are today. I will not be on tomorrow. But I'll be on Friday, and then we'll figure out the rest of next week. Dolores says, please let us know the honest ones also. Yes, Mother, your energy is pure and it shines through. And I tell you, I caught hell. Oh, you can't be for real. You can't be for real. Who was like this? Because we're so accustomed to being in a society where we're just doing for ourselves and taking care of ourselves. When I came along, they were like, you. And I'm telling you, the people who said, we couldn't stand you because we couldn't figure out who was like this all the time. I am. You treat people the way you want to be treated. You take care of people, right? And make sure that they do what they need to do. I said right again. All right, hold on. Oh, this is money we're going to save 5 cents every time I say the word right. Y'all got to stop me from using that word. The other sentence that I like people to stop saying is, with that being said. If you say with that being said more than 4 times in a sentence, we've got to figure out another way. It's just a word filler. When I say right all the time, it's because I'm using it as a word filler, and I need to stop doing that. I am well read enough to know better, and so I'm doing that. Let's see. I didn't hear from Keisha, so hopefully she did not oversleep. I don't think so. That sister's up. I didn't get an email that she. Okay, all right. So I'm looking for her. Laura says, I believe things are turning around now, but so much damage has been done that we will go through some hard times and we must prepare. So Laura, I want you to clutch your pearls. Nothing's turning around yet. It's actually devolving and getting worse. It's getting worse right now, and it will. You'll understand what I mean by and by. That it's just not, we have a lot of work to do. We've gotten into a sunken place that we have to figure out how to get out of as we move along. Good morning, Alexandra. Oh, child, you missed a whole segment. You have to come on back, rewatch the thing so you can see all the things that we've missed. Let me go into the news and try to cover a little bit of it before. So Keisha Hudson Brooks is the chief of the Defenders Association in Philadelphia. She became the chief a few years ago. And immediately I noticed that she was shifting and changing things. I noticed that she spent so much time making sure she was speaking and highlighting the people that worked in the Defenders Association. I really admired her for that. And then when things started to get really bad around ICE in Philadelphia, she created an immigration office within her office to help people who couldn't afford to help pay for what happened to them when they were accosted by ICE. She has been putting out all the information about what people need to do, etc., etc. And she's been vociferous knowing full well that she could lose her position because there are people who don't want her to talk about this. She said, but I am here for the people. I've signed up for this job to be here for the people, and I'm doing it at all costs. And so it doesn't hurt that she's Jamaican by birth. And so I wanted her on here so we could have a conversation about what is happening from her office, from her perspective, what people needed to know. I had the district attorney on, Larry Krasner, last week about the perspective from his office. What can he do versus what could he not do? He joined other district attorneys around the country, pulling together platforms so that they could put some kind of white paper together to help people from their perspective. I had a conversation with the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office, Rochelle Bilal, and she talked about people need to stop fighting with their neighbors and come together because we're going to need each other now. She spoke about the role of what the Sheriff's Office could do. And so now I'm having Keisha Hudson Brooks on from the Defenders Association to talk from their perspective. Nikita said, I talked to her when she was in Montgomery County when my son got into some trouble. Great woman. Yeah. And she, she doesn't highlight herself. She really highlights the people that works around her. I got to know her when she became the chief for the Defenders Association in Philadelphia, and talked about what was going on here. Let me do this and see who. Oh, I need somebody to tell me. Oh, well, I'll know when my sister gets here because, baby, you'll hear her mouth. You'll hear her mouth. The first husband of former First Lady Jill Biden has been charged with killing his wife at their Delaware home in late December, authorities announced in a news release on Tuesday. William Stevenson, 77, of Wilmington, was married to Jill Biden from 1970 to 1975. Carolyn Harrison, the Delaware Attorney General spokesperson, confirmed in a phone call that Stevenson is, why do we care that he's the former husband of Jill Biden? The man killed his wife, who was 64 years old. He is charged with killing Linda Stevenson, his wife, his current wife. You see how the news does it? Like all we kept hearing was Jill Biden's former husband. We don't care. We want to make sure. And apparently there has been some issues of abuse in the home because according to the news report. So this was written by 6abc.com. Oh, God. President Donald Trump signed a roughly $1.2 trillion government funding bill Tuesday that ends the partial federal shutdown that began over the weekend and sets the stage for an intense debate in Congress over Homeland Security funding. The president moved quickly to sign the bill after the House approved it with a 217-214 vote. I'm going to move that along. That's NBC Philadelphia. Governor Shapiro, Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying. I know there are people in my house. I know the gas guy is in my house or was in the house. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro delivered his 2026-27 budget address Tuesday before a joint session of the General Assembly, laying out a fiscally cautious but ambitious plan aimed at strengthening education, addressing housing and energy costs, and advancing key policy priorities in the election year. The package totals $53.2 billion, an increase over the $50.1 billion budget that was approved late last year after a protracted battle that left the Commonwealth without a budget for more than 4 months. Shapiro started his address with an enthusiastic state of the state, highlighting positive developments since he took office, saying Pennsylvania is rising. This was written by WHYY.org. Oh, no worries. That's fine too. Okay, she was on for 7:30. Okay, all right. She's going to join me now. That's fine. Okay, see? New York's Attorney General announced plans Tuesday to deploy legal observers to monitor federal immigration enforcement actions in the state. The initiative will send observers who will wear purple safety vests to the areas of reported immigration enforcement activity to collect information that may inform future legal action, according to the Attorney General Letitia James. Tensions remain high nationwide over President Donald Trump's aggressive immigration crackdown, particularly following the shooting deaths of two U.S. citizens at the hands of federal agents in Minnesota. Videos of agents conducting immigration arrests throughout the country have drawn criticism over heavy-handed tactics, often going viral online. In a statement, James, a Democrat, said she is proud to protect New Yorkers' constitutional rights to speak freely, protest peacefully, and go about their lives without fear of unlawful federal action. This was written by phillytrib.org.com. I'm sorry. Keisha Hudson Brooks will be joining us shortly. A Temple University student says he turned himself in on Monday on federal charges connected to the protest at a Minnesota church that was covered and live streamed by journalist Don Lemon. Jerome Richardson was in federal custody, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said Monday, according to CBS News Minnesota. Court documents list him as one of the 9 people indicted in connection with a January 18th demonstration. So people are being locked up federally for demonstrating. Remember, and y'all are going to go, Marva, here you go again. Remember my saying to you in 2024 that laws were being put in place in certain states just to test to see if it would work, that if you demonstrated would be considered a federal crime. Everybody said, I think it was Georgia where it first started. And everybody's like, oh, we have fundamental rights, da, 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 da. When they start to do things in different states to test the water, just know something larger is coming down the pike, right? And so, I said it again. So that's where we are now. Now people are being shot and killed, and they're looking at videos, finding out who they are, where they're from, and this is a student from Temple University that went to this demonstration, and now they came and got him. So be very mindful while you're out there. The Department of, and that was written by CBSNews.com. See, I'm going to have to tell my producer, don't give me anything else from CBS. The Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement have bought a large warehouse in Berks County, Pennsylvania. The 518,000 square foot facility in Upper Burn Township was listed for $87.4 million. Upper Burn Township Solicitor Andrew Hoffman confirmed that ICE purchased the warehouse located on the 3500 block of Mountain Road. This is in Pennsylvania, y'all. In Pennsylvania. Action News has reached out to ICE and DHS, but we have not heard back, they said. This is 6abcnews.com. A coalition of immigrant advocacy groups rallied in front of the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office on Tuesday, demanding that Sheriff Rochelle Bilal limit arrests by federal immigration enforcement officials outside of the Criminal Justice Center. More than 5,000 people signed the petition that advocates presented to Bilal at a meeting on Monday. Following Tuesday's rally, Bilal told reporters that advocates' assertions that her office is collaborating with ICE are lies. Her office does not cooperate with immigration enforcement officers, she said, and does not permit ICE arrests in the courthouse, but she does not have legal authority outside of the building, she said. That's WHYY.org. Oh, God. A federal judge has put the brakes on the Trump administration's plan to end temporary protected status for Haitian immigrants, blocking a move that would have stripped protections from hundreds of thousands of people as early as this week. U.S. Judge Anna C. Rise, who oversees the case in Washington, D.C., ruled Monday, February 2nd, that the administration cannot move forward with terminating Haiti's TPS designation while the lawsuits challenging it plays out. Oh, boy. Lord have mercy. That was Black Information Network News.com. Students in every school district of Philadelphia High School will now graduate from an accredited institution after all 55 schools earned approval from the Middle States Association Commissions on Elementary and Secondary Schools. The milestone follows the accreditation of the district's middle state system Group 3 schools, completing system-wide approval for high schools serving neighborhood catchments, criteria-based programs, citywide admissions, and Philadelphia Virtual Academy. Accreditation confirms that each school meets rigorous national standards and is committed to continuous improvement. The School District of Philadelphia is proud to celebrate this historic milestone, said School District of Philadelphia Superintendent Tony B. Watlington in a statement. This is the first time in recent history that all 55 district high schools have earned accreditation distinction. That is something to speak about, honestly. Whew. Wow, that was awesome. And that was written by phillytrib.com. The city of Philadelphia is launching a new campaign aimed at recruiting key people needed for free and fair elections. On Tuesday, February 3rd, city commissioners kick off a month-long push to recruit 250 new poll workers to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The goal is to have poll workers in place for the 2026 primary election in May, and that's May 19th. That was NBC in Philadelphia. So if you want to sign up to be a poll worker, because I just spoke to Commissioner Sabere. Let me tell you, you go to vote.phila.gov, and this is why I have a notebook with me all the way. Let me see what you all are talking about in the chat. Alexandra says he turned himself in. He was on Roland Martin to discuss his being there as a journalism student, documenting what was going on in Minnesota. They also discussed creating a defense fund for all involved. This is crazy. Just Let's see. Andrea Robin Manley. Hi, Andrea. She says, I want to know who the owner of that warehouse was selling out to ICE. There's much profit in this criminal enterprise. Someone that looks like you and I said to me some months ago, can you blame the people for taking the jobs? It's paying them money, you know. And I looked at that person, a woman, and I was like, wow, okay. All money ain't good money, but you know. Carla says, has anyone seen and signed the petition to restore the Presidential House memorial plaques? I don't know. Marguerite says, Miss Biden was only married to him for 5 years. Stop making a mountain out of her molehill. People are crazy. Alexandra says, exactly. She left that 50 years ago and upgraded. Alexandra says, they just did a violent arrest in Phoenixville. 6 ABC has the video on their website. Oh my God, it's a lot. It's a lot. All money isn't good. So that gentleman, the Temple student, is a journalism student. Wow. You know, we have to be super duper careful. And while these students are in journalism school, again, I did a podcast interview with a woman who runs a nonprofit that helps to fund journalists, a foundation. And she says journalists were disappearing. That was in 2024. Again, until it hits close to home, we don't really pay attention to it. But I agree, there needs to be something. And she has a funding for defense for journalists. But when students are in journalism school, with all that is happening in the country right now, they need to be prepared that if they go to certain places that this could happen. This is a Temple student. So I'm going to ask a friend of mine who is a journalism professor at Temple what that means in terms of how they're teaching their classes and where they're sending their children, their young people, to cover the news. Essence says, wait, so the feds are buying warehouses for ICE while some of the colleagues are furloughed in Virginia. Make it make sense. $87 million for a warehouse. Sharon says, I have seen the petition and I did sign it. Marguerite says, the schools are getting accreditations, yay, but the school district adequately can't heat them this winter. The scale isn't balancing, go figure. And after being in cold house for 2 days, I can't even imagine. It's been a lot. Absolutely been a lot. So, uh, let's see. Good morning, Laverne. Good morning, my darling. So remember, I'm not on the air tomorrow, but I want to remind those of you who signed up to said you wanted to be at Booker's on Sunday. There are 21 of you on the list. I'm carrying the list with me. If you signed up to say you're coming on Sunday, I chose Sunday because that's the day when they have the 45 three-course menu that you can pay for $45. I'm under no assumption that people are just going to be spending money willy-nilly. Even when we're inviting people to go places, we do it responsibly, right? Uh, Andrea said that warehouse is just more room to house the people they are rounding up as we speak. It's overwhelming. It is absolutely overwhelming. Can we talk about Savannah Guthrie's mother, the journalist? There is and apparently let me see if I have it in my news. Let me see if I have it in my news. Uh, I don't see it in my news yet, and I've got a lot of news. So let me find this for you. Shh. So 58 minutes ago, the Huffington Post wrote this by Ron Dicker. Nancy Guthrie, the missing mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie, has high blood pressure and cardiac issues that require a pacemaker, according to a Pima County, Arizona Sheriff's Office dispatch reported by People on Tuesday. Sheriff Chris Nanos has previously said that Guthrie, 84, required daily medication for undisclosed problems, and not taking it could prove fatal. Investigators are desperately searching for Guthrie, who has not been seen since Saturday night. Authorities believe she has been kidnapped from her Tucson area home. Reported evidence includes blood found at the scene, indications of forced entry, and her personal effects left there. A car belonging to Guthrie, who has limited mobility, also remained at the house. After interviewing Guthrie's other daughter, Annie Guthrie, with whom Nancy Guthrie had dinner on Saturday night, Nana's estimated the time frame for her possible abduction between 9:30 p.m. Saturday night and 11:30 a.m. Sunday morning. Why would they kidnap this 84-year-old woman? I want you all to think this through. Alexandra says it's been reported that TMZ received a ransom note for her. I want you to think this through. Remember all the stuff that's going on around the country and people liberal leaning, the left leaning news, and all the things that are going on. This could have been anybody that decided to teach Savannah Guthrie a lesson, which is why I say over and over and over and over again, when you are online, whether you consider yourself a public figure or not, you do not allude to where your children live. You do not give their names. You make sure that you are safe in every way, shape, or form. The gentleman from the gas company says, "You're Mister." Nobody like we laugh and talk about it, but we make sure my husband make sure he's safe every time he walks out the door. There are cameras everywhere because people are crazy. People are crazy, and you do not want to be in a space where you go, "Oh my God, she's 84 years old. They came and took that 84-year-old woman." And now, according to TMZ, and they're usually right, but they're kind of like a rag paper. So, uh, just be very mindful. And whether you consider yourself a public figure or not, please be careful about everything you say and do out here in these Wakandan streets. There's power in numbers. Where there's large numbers of you, you're a lot safer. But just don't talk about I went to this and I was over here and I got a da 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 da. We share too much. We share way too much. We share way too much. Now, this 84-year-old, and I'm not saying Savannah shared because, we were in a time when people were just happy to see our parents on the air. And, she probably said something like, my mother lives in such and such a state. So I don't want to blame her in any way, shape, or form. I am looking at this as someone being absolutely bananas, thinking that they're going to teach somebody a lesson. So folks are out here doing all kinds of intense things. And so we have to be mindful about what we say, what we do, and what we put out. Uh, Alexandra says Savannah is basically a supporter of his administration. I wonder if it has something to do with that. I don't know that to be true, so I'm not putting out any, juju on her. Marguerite says, I am very mindful about what I say about myself. So, Alexandra, this could be true. What you're saying could be true, but I don't watch enough of this stuff I don't watch the news. I can't. Cannot. I cannot. I really get my news outside of this country. So because it's so the news stations are so frightened, they give you a piece of it, and then they give you a piece of that. So here we go.
Andrea, I have babies.
Thank you, my darling. And that I remembered after I said you could come on now. I was like, oh, she has babies, so that's fine. That's fine. And it says 7:30. I saw none of that.
Yeah.
I just thought you were coming on.
School bus time.
School bus time. Did you get them on the school bus?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I was on here talking about you like a true yardie.
Yeah. Oh, yes, about me.
What Miss said was that you were fearless and that you didn't give a damn, and you were going to make sure that people were helped and served.
As long as I shoot you, I talk sister. So.
True man, so I'm not telling a lie. I'm not telling a lie because you have been absolutely fearless, and quite frankly, you are the first one we did see come out and say, no, we're not doing this.
No, not today. Yeah. No, yesterday, not tomorrow.
Are you getting sleep?
I am barely.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this. Let me introduce you. It is. Let me introduce you to the people. So we can go here. Keisha Hudson Brooks is the chief defender of the Defender Association of Philadelphia, an organization that provides high-quality, client-centered legal representation, courtroom advocacy, and a connection to social services. We're going to talk about your role as the chief defender, and your take on the state of the criminal justice system, ICE, and so much more. Where do you want to start, my sister? Because every day I'm looking at what you're writing and I'm going, damn.
It's hard to figure out where to begin. We had the Speaker of the House yesterday, Mike Johnson, questioning, the Fourth Amendment. And
tell the people what the Fourth Amendment is, Miss Lawyer.
The Fourth Amendment, there is a protection from search and seizure. There are certain requirements in the Constitution that you're entitled to, whether you are a citizen or a non-citizen. When you are on American soil, there is this beautiful document called the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And you have the Bill of Rights, and one of the amendments, Fourth Amendment, and the requirements that, granted, the United States Supreme Court in the last 2 decades, there have been certain rulings that have weakened certain protections in the Fourth Amendment. But you have the United States Constitution, but you also have state constitutions. And the Pennsylvania state constitution is actually quite strong on the Fourth Amendment, but you also still have the United States Constitution that requires a judicially signed warrant to come into your home. ICE, the latest leaked memo from the Department of Homeland Security, directing ICE agents to enter your home without a judicially signed warrant, is in direct conflict and a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. You have a right to be in your home, and no one can enter your home. There are a couple of limited exceptions, but no one can enter your home without a judicially signed warrant, and that does not matter if you're a citizen or non-citizen.
Thank you. You're the first person that have addressed a citizen or non-citizen. Now everybody's someone. I'm a citizen.
Due process, right? Due process. You have a right to due process, and that right to due process applies whether you are a citizen or a non-citizen. You have a right to that process.
Mm-hmm. So, the first time I saw you speaking up about this, you were actually the first person that started talking about ICE being at the courthouses because of the Defenders Association. So what was going on there that drew your ire and made you decide that you wanted to have a unit that focused on immigration?
We actually started talking with Nationality Service Center. So we've been doing the work since 2019. So there's a United States Supreme Court opinion, Padilla, that says that everyone who's a non-citizen who comes in contact with the criminal justice system we are required as public defenders to advise them of the immigration consequences to their justice system involvement.
Mhm.
So we have to do that work. We are required to do that work.
Mhm.
We were doing that work in partnership with Nationality Services Center for about a decade now.
Mhm.
Um, about 2 years ago, Nationality Service Center approached the defenders, approached me, and we started to have conversations about housing the immigration defense work in the Defenders Association, which is the model around the country. Um, it's the model in public defender agencies in New York, in California, that have very high immigrant populations. And it made sense because what has happened to the immigrant rights war organizations is that so much of their funding is federal, and they were concerned regarding kind of the sustainability of that funding.
Mhm.
And the Defender Association, we are a 92-year-old organization.
Mhm.
We have been here in Philadelphia since 1934. We have had a contract with the city of Philadelphia now for several decades to do indigent defense, right?
Mhm.
We are the city's indigent defense provider. We are the only constitutionally required attorneys. Public defenders are the only constitutionally required attorneys. If you get arrested in the city of Philadelphia and you cannot afford counsel, you will get a public defender appointed to you.
Mhm.
And we represent around 75% of the people that come into the system in Philadelphia. And last year, just to put numbers on it, last year that was around 34,000 people, including around 4,000 children. So we do incredible work, and we do incredible work in the criminal justice space and the juvenile justice space.
Mhm.
And immigration is actually a civil court issue. It's
Mhm.
not criminal, right? It's a civil court issue, which is so important to understand.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, in our country, the Supreme Court has not gone as far as to say that you are entitled to legal counsel in
Mhm.
civil issues, right? In housing issues, in
Mhm.
landlord tenant issues, in public benefits issues, and in immigration issues. These are civil court issues. But we need to be in the space because we are public defenders.
Mhm.
And whenever someone comes before the court, and let me be very clear, we have children as young as 3 and 4 and 5 years old who are appearing in federal court who have no legal representation. When we have those situations, public defenders stand in those spaces. So when Nationality Service Center approached us to say, let's house immigration defense under the Defender Association umbrella, it made sense. That's the model in many other public defender agencies
Mhm.
throughout the country, and we are ready and excited and need to be in this work and in this space.
How did you need the support from the city officials for funding, etc.? And how did they manage that with you, or was this just federal funding?
No, we are so the Defender Association. We are actually the only independent public defender agency in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Right, we have 67 counties, and the Defender Association of Philadelphia is the only independent public defense agency. Unfortunately, around the country, we have so many different models of public defense agencies. A majority of them are under a city agency model or a county agency model. Montgomery County, Allegheny County, those are all under the city and or county legislature. We are independent. We have a board of directors, but um, we receive 99% of our funding from the city of Philadelphia. Again,
Really?
that is the model around the country, where many public defense agencies, even if I call it quasi independence, right? We can be quasi
Mhm.
independent, but we receive a bulk of our funding from the city and or county that we are a
Okay.
part of and or state.
Okay.
So, got very, very little federal funding, which in the Trump administration has inoculated us to a certain extent, right? Because
Mhm.
we are city funded. Not entirely. We know the city of Philadelphia relies on and gets a significant amount of federal funding.
Mhm.
Um, so we're not completely immune. We have to go through a
Mhm.
budget process. We're in the budget
Mhm.
process now, and every year it's a push with the
Mhm.
city to ensure that the Defender Association of Philadelphia gets the funding that it needs for us to
Mhm.
do the work that we need to do.
Mhm. So, you've done a lot. I've seen you online. What do people need to know to protect themselves in this moment that we are in?
I mean, immigration is top of mind right now, right? We are seeing the whittling away of our constitutional rights. And again, let me be very, very clear, that whether you are a citizen or a non-citizen, you do have the right to due process.
Mhm.
We have the Supreme Court. We call it the Kavanaugh stop, right? Where Justice Kavanaugh, authored an opinion that says that it is perfectly fine for you to be racially profiled, right, by ICE. That you literally can be stopped by ICE, and we have examples here in the city of Philadelphia of citizens, United States citizens, who just by virtue of their appearance have been stopped and detained, based on just how they look. We are in I feel like, uh, it's not an understatement to say that it's a pretty terrifying time right now in
Yeah.
this country. And, the immigration issue is not just a Hispanic community issue, Latino community issue. Actually, here in Philadelphia, it has touched the Asian community, it has touched the African community, and it has touched the Caribbean community. ICE is here, ICE has been here. ICE is in the courthouse. ICE is in the courthouse virtually every day.
Are
Um,
they in the courthouse or outside the
they're
courthouse?
in the courthouse. They are in the
Okay, because
courtroom.
the sheriff said they were not in the courthouse. I
They
interviewed and asked her.
Yeah, they have. There have been a few instances where they have been in courtrooms, in the courthouse, in the lobby, and then they're just outside the lobby. They detain people when they leave the building, but they are in the building, and we have had instances where they have been in actual courtrooms. Um, in the last year, there have been around 130 people, we think 130 that we know of. There may be more, folks who have been in the criminal justice center who have been detained, by ICE. We have people who have been removed already, who have had no legal representation. We have people who've been deported to third countries that they have no relation to. A lot of the people that we are seeing getting impacted, the majority are people who are not involved in the system at all. So,
Oh,
say what you might think or feel about people who are criminally justice system involved. My client population tends to not be the most sympathetic in the general public eye. Um, but a lot of the people who are coming in contact with ICE right now are people who have been here for decades, right? Philadelphia's immigrant population is actually quite large. There are
mhm.
over 300,000 non-citizens that live in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. In Pennsylvania, there's around 464,000 non-citizens in Pennsylvania, but in Philadelphia, it's over 300,000. So that is a significant component of our population.
Mhm.
There are over 280,000 children in Philadelphia who have at least one parent who's a non-citizen.
Yes.
And so we are seeing ICE. It's impacting not just people who are justice system involved. And let's remember that was what Trump ran on, right? That was the
Mhm.
campaign promise that we are going to go after the quote unquote worst of the worst, um, and target those who are involved in the justice system. We are not seeing that. We're seeing everyone, be vulnerable and be targeted by ICE, including people who have been here for literal decades, who have residences, homes, business. There are 30,000 non-citizens, in Philadelphia who have a business. They pay taxes. There are people here who are parents.
Mhm.
And so we're not just talking about an individual impact, we're talking about destabilizing
Mhm.
families, we're talking about
Mhm.
destabilizing a community and
Mhm.
destabilizing the Philadelphia economy. There was a really good article in the Inquirer, I believe it was Monday, that talked about the contribution of immigrants to our city of Philadelphia. And so if you're not going to align with the human moral imperative of everybody's a human being, and everybody's worthy of compassion and mercy and grace, especially people who come into our country, then you can at least align with the economic, um,
Section of it, right.
base. You can at least
Right.
say, well, they are tax paying
Mhm.
economic contributors and
Mhm.
economic drivers to the
And when
city.
you take away that tax base, it impacts everyone. So you said something. There are 300,000 non-citizens living in Philadelphia.
Correct.
How many people are living total in Philadelphia right now? That number.
They represent around 20% of the Philadelphia
That's what I thought.
population. It's around
So you
20%.
pull that tax base,
Yes.
what's going to happen? So that's why it made sense that they bought that $87 million warehouse in Burns County in Pennsylvania.
They bought that warehouse. I would encourage, the mayor, and I would encourage the governor, and I would encourage people in city council and in Harrisburg, to pay attention to what's going on in other states.
Hmm.
Maryland, Maryland's uh, governor and Maryland's legislature and Maryland citizens have managed to stop the permitting process for ICE to build, let's just call them what they are, concentration camps and stuff,
Camps.
saying that we're detaining people.
Hmm.
We're literally warehousing people and fast tracking them to deportation, sometimes to countries they have no relation to. A lot of people who, again, have been here for decades, a lot of people who are here on asylum and refugee status. And what's really, important to note is that we can't push back against this. We have power, right? We see that in Minneapolis. We see that in so many communities across the country. We may not be seeing it in the media, but there is power in people and power in community and power in organizing, and we're seeing that pushback. But we also have power in the people that we elect, to stand, stand in the moment and push back, against what we see happening here to our community members, and to our neighbors, and to children, and to families, and just destabilizing whole communities, that we see here, not just in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, but across the country. A lot of the folks we're also seeing come in the system were here, in the process, right? So they are pursuing asylum, they're
Hmm.
pursuing refugee status. I'm an immigrant, you're an immigrant, right?
Hmm.
We know the impact of colonialism and imperialism on Caribbean and Asian, Middle East, and Latin American and Central American countries, and Africa. We know the impact. We know what drives immigration, right? It is the destabilization of communities and countries across the world that the West, primarily America, has had a part in. And so people immigrate, they migrate here, not just for education and opportunity and the American dream, but because they may not be safe in their home country.
Hmm.
And it may be environmental um, issues that are driving that migration. But people come here, they migrate here, they are looking for an opportunity, to find a home and a community, and they deserve that. And once they're here, they're entitled to due process. They
Hmm.
have rights, and I cannot emphasize enough that doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or a non-citizen.
Yeah. And that's the part that I have been saying to people all along. Well, they keep saying, and so people have been conditioned to believe that you have to be a citizen. There are plenty of people that have lived here that have the right to live here. They just do not have citizenship. If you have a green card, can they just put you out the country?
Everyone is vulnerable. I said earlier that we have citizens. We have people who are traveling around with their passports, with their naturalization certificates,
Yes.
just to, just in case that they're targeted, they can show,
Hmm.
I'm a United States citizen. But again, can be racially profiled. You can be stopped,
Hmm.
based on how you look, and that we are not, again, no one is immune to the tactics of
Hmm.
ICE, and
Hmm.
we are seeing the impact not just on non-citizens, but we see it
Hmm.
on citizens as well. And what I said earlier about 280,000 plus children in
Hmm.
Philadelphia that have at least one non-citizen parent. You can just imagine the pain, that takes
Hmm.
on a family when you
Hmm.
detain and or deport a parent.
Hmm.
That could be
Hmm.
the parent that is the head of the household. That could be the parent that is the wage earner. That
Hmm.
could be the parent that is the caretaker, not only of children,
Hmm.
but maybe of the elderly.
Hmm.
This is really just destroying lives. Um,
Hmm.
and I think we're not alarmed enough.
We're
Here,
just not,
really.
because Keisha, they have, someone just wrote here, why can't they come in the country the legal way? We've been conditioned to believe that all these people are here illegally and that they just kind of came over a border. And thank you, ECB answered the question and said most do. They come
Most do,
in, they
most
apply
do,
to get their green
most
cards,
do.
they work, they pay taxes, they do
ISIS,
all the things.
ISIS latest tactic is you're in the process. You're in the immigration process. it took me almost 10 years
Tell
to
them.
get my naturalization certificate,
Hmm.
right? It is a long process, it's a complicated process, and it is
And
an
it's an expensive
expensive
process.
process. It is expensive process. And
Mhm.
but what we are seeing now, and we've been seeing this in the last few weeks, you are going to your check-in that you are required to attend by
Mhm.
ICE because you're in the
Mhm.
process of getting that documentation. You're in the process of asylum. You're in the process of getting refugee status, and they're detaining you at your required check-in.
Yeah.
They're also detaining whole families, right? So what we have
Mhm.
seen, and this has been impact. We've seen this in the Venezuela for the Venezuelan
Mhm.
population in Philadelphia, is mom might be the one who needs to, or dad might be the one who needs to check in with ICE, and mom and dad will go to the ICE check-in, and they may have their children with them. ICE is taking entire families, including children who were born here, and putting them in detention. So we do get that pushback a lot, that people should just go through the process. They should get their paperwork, and get their green card,
Mhm.
and become naturalized and become U.S. citizens. It is
Mhm.
really hard. It is really complicated. It is really expensive.
Yeah.
But we're also seeing people who are actually going through the
Mhm.
process and
Mhm.
are doing it the right, quote unquote, the right way,
Mhm.
and they're still being targeted.
They've been targeted. Um, do the Carla says, "Forgive me if I missed the number, but do we know the numbers of those who are here illegally? And what does that mean?"
Well, no human being is illegal, right? Let's talk about the importance of language here, and we could spend an entire morning talking about that. There are people who come into this
Mhm.
country in myriad ways. There are people, we have to remember that Trump is revoking the right of a lot of people who come here to support our tech industry.
Mhm.
He's targeted students who are here from different countries at colleges and universities. We have seen that impact. Let's just say what it is, right? We are in a white nationalist moment, where if you are non-white, there is a target. They have started with what they think is the least among us, right? Like the language around the people
Mhm.
who are the worst of the worst, my population, my clients, who I
Mhm.
love dearly and will fight
Mhm.
for and have fought
Mhm.
for the last 23 years as a public defender, and the incredible attorneys and non-attorneys that we have at the Defender Association. Those are our clients. We will stand in the moment to represent our clients. But
Mhm.
right now, they that was the narrative that they started with, but they have now moved on to target anyone who is in this
Anyone.
country, legal and or non-legal.
Illegal. So
Every,
here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think most Black folks who were born and raised in this country have yet to pull in their brains, because it just doesn't compute for them. So many American citizens born and raised here have been locked up and deported, but that does not make the news, because
it's
then everybody would
yeah,
go, "What the hell is happening here?" And it's been happening consistently
yeah.
in the last year at least. So what is it going to take for us to get to the place where we understand that none of us are safe? None of us. They
Uh,
don't care if you're a lawyer, doctor, Indian chief. They don't care if you have your papers. They don't, that we're being racially profiled. That's the part that I'm trying to get to. Um, it is incredibly difficult. I need to do a whole show just on immigration. Who are the people that come here? What does that entail, et cetera, et cetera? Because I'm seeing things that made me understand that people just don't get it. You've been fed so much illegal, that you think it's black or white. Either you're here legally or you're not here legally, and it's crazy.
mhm.
Yes. ECB said many natural born citizens are being swept up in the hysteria. So, what should folks need to know? What do they need to know? Who are the numbers what are the numbers they should call? What should they need to know in advance, just in case it happens to them, God forbid, all the things.
Mhm. We and we are immigration legal practice that launched in January, and so we have a funding that is through the city of Philadelphia. It is $950,000.
Mhm.
For that funding expires June 30th of this year. So
Mhm.
we submitted our budget request. We are asking for the Parker administration to sustain that
Mhm.
$950,000 funding. Our unit, when we are fully staffed, we're still hiring. Again, we launched in January.
Mhm.
Will be 11 people, nine of whom are going to be will be lawyers. We cannot represent everyone
Mhm.
who comes into who's detained by ICE. The
Mhm.
numbers are just too vast, but
Mhm.
we at least are able to work with the vast network of immigrant rights
Mhm.
organizations to at least screen everyone. Everyone is being detained right now, right? So no one is
Mhm.
being granted bond. Everybody is being detained. We're at least
Mhm.
able to screen everyone who comes into detention, and we represent the folks that we can represent given our staff and numbers, and then we are able to refer out and hopefully connect them with
Mhm.
an attorney or legal counsel
Mhm.
at another organization.
Mhm.
So we have started that work. This week we are going to be launching a fundraising campaign, and so while we're asking the park administration to sustain that $950,000 in funding, we also would like to expand the work that we do.
Mhm.
So if we
Mhm.
get that funding, which I hope we do,
Mhm.
um, we want to be able to expand it at additional attorneys who can take on
Mhm.
additional clients
Mhm.
and meet the moment and do representation not
Mhm.
just in the city of Philadelphia, but we are trying to expand and do representation across the Commonwealth.
Mhm.
If folks go to our website, www.phillydefenders.org, there is a page that is dedicated to our immigration legal practice. We're still
Mhm.
building that page out, but
Mhm.
currently there's at least information about what people need to know
Mhm.
and what their rights are. We're going to be launching a Know Your Rights videos. We're going to do Know Your Rights trainings
Mhm.
across Philadelphia. And by the end of this month, we will have a hotline number that people will be able to call. So, we're still building up the practice, but we are in federal court. Uh,
Mhm.
and, I want people to also understand that the majority of clients that we're representing, the federal courts are granting bond, right, while they go through the process, right?
Mhm.
Because the judges are looking at people who are just like you and me,
Mhm.
except we may not have our papers, right? We may not have
Mhm.
our citizenship, but these are people who are working. They're your
Mhm.
neighbors. They are the people who are integral to the service industry. They are business owners. They are taxpayers. They are long-term
Mhm.
residents. They are the fabric of their communities. And judges are realizing we don't need to
Mhm.
keep this person in detention. They can be
Mhm.
home back with their families in their communities while they go through, the removal process.
Mhm.
And when people are represented, in the overwhelming majority of cases, when people are represented, we're actually able to create a path to citizenship
Citizenship. Mhm.
for them. So we're doing the work. We need the funding to sustain the work that we're doing,
Mhm.
um, and are really looking forward to hopefully getting that sustained funding from the Parker administration.
Citizenship. Janelle says, "Can you explain what the correct, quote unquote, correct way to enter the country is?"
That is a very, very, very complicated question, right?
Yeah, and it
Um,
would take a whole hour. I'm telling you,
the
easily.
immigration, and you should have, I think, have, and I'm happy to hopefully work with my team. I don't do immigration law. Immigration law is
Mhm.
complicated, very, very complicated area of the law. And
Mhm.
that's because a method of entry, there's so many myriad
There was,
ways, and
yes.
so many countries have their own kind of immigration laws. But people coming into the country, you and I are from Jamaica, right? So
Mhm.
Jamaica is a population. We have a population of Jamaicans that come into the country who are migrant farm workers.
Mhm.
That is a long and storied, rich history of how
Mhm.
people from the Caribbean get into this country.
Mhm.
Um, my mom immigrated to this country in the 80s because she was recruited, right? She was recruited from Jamaica, just like so many nurses in the
Mhm.
Caribbean, not just Jamaica, who
Mhm.
are the fabric of the healthcare industry. And when you look at the people who make up the healthcare industry in every role, all the way
Mhm.
up to doctors, right? These are folks who immigrated here.
Mhm.
And they may be first generation or second generation, but they are
Mhm.
the children of immigrants or they're immigrants themselves.
Mhm.
As I mentioned earlier, there's people who are students. or there are people who are here on work visas, right? The tech
Mhm.
industry has
Mhm.
the fabric and the very lifeblood of the tech industry is built on immigration. And
Mhm.
then you get all the way down to the service industry and the people
Mhm.
who make your food and serve your
Mhm.
food, the people who work on the farms, right? There's a reason that they're encouraged to come here. There are
Mhm.
pathways that they were encouraged to come here and they were brought here.
Mhm.
Um, and they were brought here under again the guise of the promise that there will be a path to
To
citizenship.
citizenship,
Let me
right? So they.
also let me
Mhm.
also mention the army, the military, right? We have
Mhm.
a lot of people who
Mhm.
again are promised a path to citizenship if you serve in the military.
Mhm.
And so there are myriad ways to get into the country, um, whether we define it as a legal mechanism or not.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but the majority of people who are coming into this country, again,
Mhm.
came into this country thinking there was going to be a path to citizenship, or they're on asylum, or they're seeking refugee
Mhm.
status because of
Mhm.
destabilization in their own countries. And then a lot of that destabilization had a lot to do with our involvement in
Mhm.
those countries and how we
Mhm.
destabilize those countries.
Mhm. Red Scorpio says, "Can she speak to the ones with criminal records coming into the country?" So let me clear that path up for you. When you come into the country and you want to create a path to citizenship, they vet you in ways you cannot even begin to imagine. This is not just you walking in and saying, "Oh, I want to become a citizen."
Correct.
They look into
And
your history.
after 9/11, good luck, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They go through every part of your life and your history. So I'm not sure. And there is empirical data that says most people who are immigrants here do not commit crimes. Tell them why,
Correct.
Keisha.
Correct. Because again, we are here trying to achieve the American dream, right?
Mhm.
Um, I cannot emphasize enough as someone who immigrated to this country
Mhm.
at 15 years old. I was a fully formed, um,
Mhm.
socialized person in Jamaica when
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
immigrated here. I was not a child. And as I mentioned before, my mom was recruited to be a nurse. There was a nurse
Mhm.
shortage in the 80s in New York, and her and so many other nurses and healthcare professionals were recruited not just from Jamaica, but across the Caribbean,
Mhm.
across Africa, across
Mhm.
Asia to come and be in the
Mhm.
health industry here. But there is this narrative when you are living
Mhm.
outside of America of the American dream, right? It looks good and it sounds good, and that's what every human being wants. They want
Mhm.
safety and security and
Mhm.
stability and a foundation for their families, and they want prosperity. A lot of people want access to education and right educational
Mhm.
opportunities that they cannot get back in their home countries,
Mhm.
so it's not just an economic opportunity and a
Mhm.
employment opportunity. It's an education path that again people feel like that's the path that I
Mhm.
want to take, and I want to immigrate, and I
Mhm.
want to come to America to achieve that American dream. Let me
Mhm.
also say I got into a back and forth with a Jamaican actually on social media because she was questioning. She's like, "Well, why are Jamaicans celebrating Black History Month? Jamaicans in the United States, why are we celebrating Black History Month? Like we're doing too much." And I think, unfortunately, the um, the diaspora needs to realize that we are one. It doesn't matter where the slave ships dropped us off, and that's
Mm.
clear.
Yeah.
It was just by
Mhm.
virtue of where was that ship going? Was it
Mhm.
going to Europe, or was it going to South America or Central America? Was it going to the Caribbean? Um,
Mhm.
we were just, we had no choice in that destiny. We are
Mhm.
one. We are Black,
Mhm.
and we are descended from Africans, and we're descended from people who were enslaved. We just happen to have been,
Knocked
you
off somewhere else, dropped off
know,
somewhere else. And
we are the diaspora needs to realize that
yeah,
we're one
I,
entity.
I've been having those conversations too, Keisha, and let me tell you, they're not pretty. They're not pretty because I'm like, yo,
I,
you
I
do not feel like you distinguish yourself and that you're different because you come from a different country. I love the way how you explain the immigration process because a lot of folks just come across the border, sneak into the border, come into it. That's not the way it happens.
that's
This country comes into many other countries and say we need engineers. India is filled with technology people that are now living here of trying to find a pathway to say we will give you the pathway to citizenship if you come here. There's paperwork you have to fill out. Somebody has to sponsor you, and literally, so that would be their company that they work for, and thousands of dollars, and many years later. So it's not so they're giving their gifts and times and talents, and they're working here and working towards the path of citizenship. I cannot tell you how many times this country has gone to Jamaica. Universities have gone to like the University of Pennsylvania, gone to Jamaica and took the brightest students. Where in our country, if you get under a 90, you failed. And they bring them here and say, we want you to come and go to school here because we want to create a path for citizenship, because we want the brain power, the things that you bring to the table, the farmers. I traveled around this country, and the amount of Jamaicans and people from other countries that I saw working in the tourism industry. And when I asked someone from the one of the restaurants, white man, he said, nobody works harder than the people from the Caribbean. And we can pay them less than what we would pay the Americans, and we can help them get a path to citizenship. I want you all to understand that there's so many different ways. So people don't just come in here and decide they're just going to come and stay. They've been sought out. The nurses, the doctors, oh my God. And so I have family member that live in Jamaica that three of them are doctors, and they're like, we just can't do this to ourselves. So they're staying there and traveling as tourists coming back and forth. But and teachers, oh my God, the amount of teachers that they all came to the islands and got to come here to teach. So if you want to blame someone, y'all, blame the people that are here going, we don't have enough this or we don't have enough that, or they're not qualified. And then they bring the folks here and pit them against each other. So I have to have conversations with Jamaicans, for example, because they're the ones that I know. And I say, your coming here doesn't make you damn well any better. You had opportunities where you were living that made you were able to speak and do the things you needed to do. Don't you dare come here and look down on anybody. Oh, I have been whipping tails. You hear me? For decades. I'm having the conversations.
I know you are.
So it is so convoluted and it's so hard to put your finger on it. But what I want you to all stop saying is that these are illegals coming in the wrong way. That your country, the United States of America, has gone out and recruited people from other countries and brought them back here because what they essentially were saying was we didn't have enough smart people here. The education system is so wrapped and wrong and all the things, and they purposely bring people here from other countries and tell them they're giving them a path to citizenship, and here we are. So there's so much work. Yes, we have to educate ourselves, Alexandra. There's so much work. So when you hear these things about these illegals, most people think of people coming across the border just coming out illegal. No, they were brought here on purpose to do a certain job, a certain skill set, and told when you come here, we will find a place for you for citizenship. So they've been paying taxes for decades, figuring out how to do and going into the court system, filing for their papers and doing the work the right way.
Let me also, we don't see enough attention on this, but my brother is a scientist. He is a researcher. He worked and has done a lot of work in the scientific research area. And we have, with the elimination of so much funding from a lot of the colleges and universities across America, elimination of so much of the research grants, we are seeing a lot of scientists, the majority of whom are not American, are leaving this country. We're seeing the destabilization of a lot of research, scientific research, and that impact is going to be generation. It's going to be generations of impact. So it is right now. And you're a media, um, you know, um, uh, personality, right? But you and I have had conversations about the media and the media narrative and
Yeah.
what we see in the media. And I
Mhm.
always encourage people, to turn on BBC, to pick up a newspaper in any other Western country, any
Mhm.
other country, quite frankly,
Mhm.
and read about what's really going on, not just in America, but throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite an education, right?
It
Because
is.
everyone is sounding the alarm when you open up. There's a vast difference between when you open up BBC World News and you open up even like the New York Times, or the Washington Post, where things are just getting so normalized.
Mm-hmm.
Things are not getting reported. We're not
Yes.
seeing the true picture of what is happening in the country right now,
At all.
and
At
at all.
all.
And I say a lot of times that people are divided into different groups, right? So we have on one side the people who are just completely for this. They voted for this. They are in lockstep with
Mm-hmm.
all of the philosophy behind MAGA and behind
Mm-hmm.
the Trump regime and everything that's
Mm-hmm.
going on right now. The push towards white nationalism, and we are fully into fascism. And let's just call it what it is. We are there. Then you have another group of people in America who we voted a certain way. We voted for Harris, or we may have voted for democracy, and
Mm-hmm.
we believe that everybody has constitutional rights and the right to due process. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the middle, you have the people who are just completely apathetic and completely uneducated, and they don't want to be educated, and they don't want to be bothered, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's a certain tactic towards sowing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, confusion, right? We live in a state right now of hypervigilance,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're all going to need therapy. We all should be
Mm-hmm.
therapy now, but we're certainly going to need therapy after
Mm-hmm.
the end of this regime, because every
Oh, I
hour,
need therapy now.
yeah,
I need
every
therapy now.
hour, yeah, every hour, every day, there's something that's
Mm-hmm.
happening
Yes.
that is
Yes.
just attacking our
Yes.
our
Yes.
mental and emotional
Mm-hmm.
energy and intellect,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
is incredibly
And
traumatic.
and I think what is really even more traumatic are the people who feel that they're safe. They're living this facade that we're safe because we're born and raised here. And that as long as they have something to point to, oh, those illegals over there. I think we just blew a lot of minds this
They're
morning,
they,
making
they
people understand
already
how immigration really works.
they are now looking at, he has said, Trump has said it, that they are looking at people who are naturalized, right? And what,
Yes.
and what did they start with, right? That's you and me. We're naturalized.
Yes.
What did they
Yes.
start with? They said, well, we're going
Mhm.
to look at the people who are naturalized, who may have done something wrong in the naturalization process. That's the same playbook they started with regarding non-citizens. They're like, oh, we're going to start with the people who are in the criminal justice system, right? We're
Mhm.
going to really target that group. Well, now they're normalizing targeting people who are naturalized citizens
Mhm.
by saying,
Mhm.
well, we're going to look at their immigration process, and if there was any fraud or misrepresentation or falsities as they went through that process, well, then we're going to target them. Well, then they're going to people who me and you are possibly on the table, right? For people who went through the process and did everything the right way, quote
Mhm.
unquote. Then what's next? We already see U.S. citizens being impacted, right? U.S. citizens of a certain hue, that look a certain way. So this
Mhm.
is this is textbook, right? This is
Mhm.
textbook fascism. It's textbook playbook for how it played out in Nazi Germany. And let me be very, 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 very clear. Germany studied America, and so I get a little bit frustrated when people say, oh, we're becoming Nazi Germany. And I said, well, actually, Hitler learned
Absolutely.
from us.
And in fact,
It watched
Germany, and in fact,
exterminate Native Americans and then
right,
enslaved
right.
African Americans, and
Yep.
thought, let's see what we can
Yep.
model after
Yep.
The American playbook in Germany.
In fact, Germany balked at some of the things that were being done, hanging people from trees, etc. That's why they chose the gas chambers. And then Germany turned around and began paying restitution for the damage that they've caused. Germany is now looking at us and going, "What the hell?"
Right. This is, when people say, this is not the America I know, they'll be very mindful of who you're saying that to, because if it's you or I, or people who were born here, or people who have lived
Mhm.
through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and on, people who are the descendants of people who have been enslaved,
Yes.
um, this is what America always has been.
Yep. 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 Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Why you make me so angry this time of the month? And I'm not even,
Listen,
not even
listen.
eating
I'm
meal.
trying not to
And
raise
you
my
have
blood pressure because
your blood
I
pressure,
wanted to.
blood pressure high.
I literally wanted to have a conversation with someone who understood, fully understood what this immigration process was, and let's not just call it illegals and all those other things. So folks now have to go back and do their research and ask the questions. You know, the HCB says it's astounding how many Americans want to be not. It is a buildup of the consistent narrative, the beating of the drum that Black people of color took away their rights in this country. This was not accidental. So there are a lot of people running around saying, we got to get rid of these unsavory people, even if they're here illegally, even if they're naturalized citizens, even if they're born and raised in this country, if they're Black, if they look a certain way, we're going to get them. For
Mhm.
you to understand that concentration camps are just the prevalent thing right now. We're just going about our day going, I'm just going to go on vacation. I think when it really hits Keisha, folks
Uh-huh.
are going to be looking like, oh shit,
Mhm.
we are here, and they will not be prepared. Those of us who have been watching and listening and paying attention and saying, you need to be prepared, they're thinking, well, I'm an elected official and everybody knows my name, I will not be picked up. That's not how this thing is working, right?
Nope.
So we've got to be thorough and mindful. Lord, let me just, I'm raising up my blood pressure. Let me just calm myself down. I can't. Not today. I can feel my heart. Lord, have mercy.
No, it is. It's a dystopian feeling that we are just kind of going about our day, um,
Mhm.
not
Yeah,
realizing again that
yeah.
it's already getting too late, right?
It is,
The
yes.
playbook is the 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 playbook is playing out. We're not at we're not definitely not at the epilogue, but we are in the middle of the book. And we had warning signs when the book was just a thought and maybe just an outline. But here we are, the playbook. This is all by design. And unfortunately, when you decimate decimate education, right? There's a reason why there's an attack on education. There's
Mhm.
a reason why the majority of the right wing base is in red states that rank the lowest in education. There's just not a lot of understanding of
Mhm.
who we are and how we got
Mhm.
here and really
I
learning.
think it's your husband.
And I was closing the door, not learning from,
Mhm.
again,
Mhm.
our history. And this is not
Mhm.
new, right? Like we go through these cycles, and there are multiple examples in American history where we've gone
Mhm.
through cycles. And I feel for the history the
Mhm.
people who have studied history and know history and
Mhm.
write about history,
Mhm.
because they're just like, okay, wait a minute, we've been here before. Uh,
Yes.
we've gone through this before
Mhm.
in another era,
Mhm.
and we haven't learned, and we're not doing anything different. And
And
it is terrifying, but it's heartbreaking.
now they're working to absolutely remove what history that was there and banning books. And I don't think we're paying attention. We still keep going. Nothing can, we're going to be all right. This is going to be fixed at the next election. I don't think people realize that
Or
this decades.
and people saying, well, the history books will remember. Well, it depends on who's writing them. Right? There's a reason why there is an attack on the Kennedy Center. There's a reason
Oh,
why
is it true that he's trying to tear down the Kennedy Center? Like, put it.
that's the next plan. It's hard to keep up. That's the next plan,
Yeah.
right?
Keisha, how can people reach you if they need to?
Go to our website www.phillydefenders.org, again on issues regarding everything criminal justice or juvenile justice. We are the organization that represents people,
Mhm.
including youth, including children in dependency.
Mhm.
I saw
Mhm.
a comment earlier regarding our child advocacy work.
Thank you. I was just about to.
We
Thank you.
represent
I was
children
just about to ask you that, but we don't have time
in
today. So I'd
dependency.
like to have you back on to discuss
Love
this.
to address what the work we do
Thank you.
in dependency. That
Okay.
is a complicated area of our practice. Um, and it is a significant area of our practice.
Mhm.
Represent around 1,600 children in the past year who are in the who are in the dependency system. But you can go to our website. We're also on social media to find out, again, information, not just know your rights across the justice system, across the immigration system, but how to reach us and get in contact with us.
Yeah. Here's the last thing that I want to say. I've seen you fighting with DHS. You are like, you not these children, not today. When you come back, and I need to do this sooner rather than later, we want to talk about your work with the children, what's happening in the courtrooms, what happens there, and the human trafficking that continues to happen across these systems for our children, our most vulnerable. I literally have a slight headache. I got to get off the air. I can't. This was heavy for me today, because when you care about what happens to people beyond the trite information that's put out in front of us in the news, it takes a toll. I need you to get some sleep. I see the circles under your eyes.
They're here to stay. They're getting bigger.
It's a lot. Thank you so much, Keisha.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.
A pleasure. All right. Talk to you.
Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Whew, that was, I knew it was going to be challenging. I think my sister is here. I got to get out of here. I will not be on the air tomorrow. I need us to, I've asked you all this every time I put my hands and my voice to the air. Do your research. Ask the questions. We have people that are on here that are guests that will tell you what the history is. Right? What is happening there? Where's that coming from? Why are things happening the way that they're happening? Why are our children being trafficked? That babies are being sold and sexually abused? Who are the people that are doing this? How did Jeffrey Epstein became, the person that he is? Who are all these wealthy men that have been abusing children? And why is the human trafficking in our country still so prevalent? Billions and billions of dollars of industry. Billions and billions of dollars of industry. So we have a ton of work to do, but if we close our eyes and put our head in the sand, we'll just keep pointing fingers at this one and that one and this one and that one, and it's illegals and it's this one and that one. And it takes our focus off exactly what is happening, which means every one of us are being impacted. Not just Black people, not just the Latinos, not just the Asians, but white folks too, middle class and poor white folks who believe that their best interest is being covered no matter what is happening to the rest of us in this country. Oh Lord, I got to calm myself down. I can feel it. Listen, I will not be on the air tomorrow. I will see you on Friday. We'll have Councilmember Phillips on to talk about what's happening in City Council as we speak, and we'll go from there. This episode of Mornings with Mother is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.